This is part 3. Hopefully you look around my channel, Growth Factor, for part 1 and 2. This is Professor Sonnenschein. And I want to let you know about him because he has a fascinating journey. We're going to get a little more serious, though. We were talking about his life journey, traveling with his family, and how he chose the profession that he has. But again, we're going to get serious. But I want to tell you that Professor Sonnenschein has dedicated his life to God and humanity in service to improving people's wellness and the health of the planet. He is the president of the Sonnenschein Institute. I'll put everything in the description, just click that below. And he has 25 different verticals associated with agriculture, sustainable living, health and wellness. And he provides products that help you with those who had to get this done, those who got the viral pathogen, who in both cases are injured. So I think we're going to step right into that because we can talk probably another 2 to 4 hours about his life and his story. So Professor Sonnenschein, can I ask you, when this 2020 viral pathogen, when us humans became aware of it, what were your thoughts and some articles you wrote that we could find, and I'll put in the description?
Well, my first experience was in January. I got a call, because I'm a product formulator, and, I try to invent dietary supplements that have functionality in terms of improving people's wellness. And I got this call from this person who had 3 friends in the hospital, and they were literally dying of this unusual thing that nobody had ever seen before. And so they said, can you invent something, to help them get well? So I did, and I shipped it off. And immediately after I shipped it, they contacted me and they said, well, we're afraid to take it because it's not been tested, and we don't want to just eat something and think it's going to get us better. And this is this guy talking for his friends. So I, put that aside. My wife, who works in a hospital, a few days later, she comes down with the same symptoms. She can't breathe. She has a high fever. Her brain is totally in a fog. And I said, here, honey, take this. And she worked that night, the night shift. So she came home in the morning. I gave it to her around 8 o'clock. And then she went to sleep, and, she got up at 4 o'clock, ready to go to work. And she was all better. She didn't have a fever. She wasn't coughing. She was able to breathe. She was mentally all there. She didn't have any pain. And she was all better. So I realized, hey, this works. And what happened was at that time, a few other people I knew got the same thing. And I said, here, take this. They got better. And then we looked at what was happening in the world, especially in the country. We was really realizing that people in New York City were really getting sick, a lot of them, and they were going to hospital and dying. And we contacted a rabbi and said, hey, Rabbi, if you know anybody who's sick, we'll be happy to give you this product and see what happens. So we sent him 6 or 12. And then 2 days later, he said, well, everybody got better. Can you send me 25? And then a few days later, he called and he said, they all got better too. Can you send me 50? I sent them 50. They all got better too. Can you send me 100? They all got better too. So, within a week, we had sent, probably over 500 units of this product, and everybody got better. There is a man in this community who heard about this, and he said, this is a good thing. And he wrote a check for a lot of money and said, here, distribute this widely as possible. And we did. And we distributed in the next few weeks 10,000 units. And everybody got better. And in this community, the rabbis were distributing it. The rabbis were bringing it to the hospital. When they went into the hospital, they described it as holy water from the Temple Mount. And people who had pneumonia the pneumonia went away. The symptoms from this other new disease all went away. And it was really amazing. And within a month, there was over 10,000 units that had gone out. And, we didn't make any claims about anything. It was just a dietary supplement made out of natural products, primarily minerals that you'd find in natural seawater. That's it. That we didn't make anything other than here, drink this. And the rabbis and there's a volunteer ambulance service that went out and had it on all their ambulances in the community. And they, if somebody looked sick, here, drink this. And they got better really quick.
Excuse me for interrupting real quick. Is it HATZALAH? Is that the ambulances? Okay. For those that don't know HATZALAH, you'd look up HATZALA, and it's all over the country in certain communities. So the community pays for it.
Everybody was getting better. And at that point, I started engaging doctors and other practitioners, and we wrote a research article about this new thing that was on the horizon, and we published that in a peer-reviewed medical journal. And we predicted, well, what can you do, and what are some of the natural remedies that you could do? What is the etiology in terms of the origin of this, and how long does this last, and how do we render immunity? And really, very early on, by spring, we had published a research article on this thing, and we were one of the first entities to publish in a peer-reviewed medical journal about this unusual thing. And what happened after that is we just kept on making product and distributing it as a dietary supplement, and working within the legal pathways of how we could distribute this without making claims, and word of mouth spread. And at this point, we have more than 1 million units either out in the market or in the process, under purchase orders, making that number. And that's a lot. We have hundreds of thousands of people who've taken the product, and we have lots of people who can tell you, I got better really quick. And then, last summer, actually it was in the winter. So the winter of 2021, it literally right at the beginning, the end of December, beginning of January, we went and we tried this product with a women's shelter. We had 52 women in the women's shelter take this product, and then we studied what happened to them. And it turned out that some of the women actually got COVID during this period of time. And we studied what happened to them too. And then we published in a peer-reviewed medical journal the findings. It was published in the summer. We had doctors, and we had students from a major medical university, and other authors. Is
this correct? Sorry to interrupt. Is this the article right here?
Yes.
Okay.
That's yes. So that article not only showed what it did for this virus, but also showed what it did for people's wellness. We saw things, like arthritis and asthma and pain and even depression disappear from this dietary supplement. And we realized that this is something that people can take for wellness. And then we developed a whole protocol around this product, which also includes 9 other products that basically people can take for a lot of different things and help them get well. So we created this, as you're showing here, this private medical association where people could become members and learn more about these different things and how they can work together and how they can get well. And this is just this private medical, private member association is, basically allows people to do something just like when they would go to Sam's Club with a Sam's card. That's a private member association. They get access to products and services at a discounted rate, but they also get, they also have a unique place to go in this situation. This is a unique place to go for wellness. We have doctors associated with it. We have training programs. We have weekly conference calls with doctors all over the world discussing, these approaches to wellness. And it's really grown to a huge degree. And, there's a tremendous need that, people have been affected by this shot, and people are affected by the effects of the shot, and people are affected by the effects of this virus. And, not only the virus itself, but also what happens after you get the virus. So, this is a place where we're describing, all the different things that can happen and educating the public, to solutions.
Thank you. Okay, I have so many questions. My first question is going to be related to my father, which I'll share secondary. And thank God he's 80 years old and still doing great. No side effects from this viral pathogen, which we all know what that is. That happened in 2020. I'm not using the words just because you never know who's going to want to shut down our voices. So I wanted to ask you about cytokine storm. Were you basically with your products treating cytokine storm, or what is it treating when a person gets this viral pathogen?
Well, in the first article, which I didn't give you a copy of it because it was just a general description of the issue, a framework. But in that article, we discussed the cytokine storm. And what the cytokine storm is basically this virus stealing the iron out of the blood. And the iron is the part that allows for the blood to get oxygenated. When the blood's not oxygenated and it goes through the body, it actually stimulates your lungs and your heart to move faster, to get more blood moving, to get more oxygen. So basically, people were becoming starved for oxygen because the virus was eating the iron. Now, we still have this problem today, and most of the people on the planet have low iron levels. And the reason they have low iron levels is the virus eats the iron. Now, you can't just pour iron into your mouth as a supplement because it won't get absorbed. There's a whole process that you have to do in terms of dietary supplementation to allow iron to be bioavailable for it to be reinvigorating your blood with iron. But the cytokine storm happened because the iron was being stolen. Now, what we did is we invented a product that increases the dissolved oxygen. So in a laboratory, we can show you that we double the dissolved oxygen in the water. And what we've seen in, the research article points this out, but we've seen people, and we have people telling us that they're able to breathe better. And that's because this water is a highly activated, energized, and regenerative water. It has a regenerative oxygen molecule that pumps up the blood. And in the laboratory pumps up the water that we're testing, doubles the amount of dissolved oxygen, and it maintains itself. So that the cytokine storm basically made people worse. The cytokine storm also turned into pneumonia quite often. And so again, pneumonia, happened because of the overworking of the lungs and the heart. But what we had something that increased the oxygen. So it relieved the oxygen dependency, relieved the heart and the lung overworking. And immediately people started getting better. The other thing is the product had a very significant anti-pathogen component in it, which basically killed the virus and the other pathogens, so that you had a clear sailing to getting better from what was happening in terms of the cytokine storm. Now, just recently, the BA.5 has a cytokine storm component, and we've seen this. So we've seen the same prevalence to pneumonia, the same prevalence to people being without oxygen. And the BA.5 is also a relative of LAMBDA. which was, which also knocked you out. And LAMBDA, people who had LAMBDA basically were knocked out, for 3 or 4 weeks. So, right now we're seeing on the average, and the CDC says that the BA5 has a minimum of a 2 to 3 week recovery. Now, with our dietary supplement, in the present version, people are getting better within 1 or 2 days. So we just recently completed another preclinical trial looking at the effect of these dietary supplements. This is with doctor supervision on people that have post-COVID, have COVID, and post shot conditions. And we see that, in literally less than 7 days, we can reverse all of those to normal. And it's very inexpensive. These are all dietary supplements. We're not making any claims to anything other than look at the peer-reviewed the article. We don't have it yet ready, but it will be ready soon. That will, we anticipate publishing a peer-reviewed medical journal that can talk to the studies that we completed this spring, which definitively showed the possibilities of how this worked in terms of how well it works under these conditions for people representing these types of, symptomologies. So we're not treating, diagnosing, or curing anything. This is a dietary supplement people can take as a dietary supplement, but we studied these people. We had doctors review and supervise this product and the process, and we found that it worked really, really well. Statistically quite significant in terms of the findings from the study.
Incredible. In a moment, I'm going to share my father's story. I'm going to relate it to my anxiety story. And I think you're going to see, Professor, that it's all interrelated. And I'd love in the comments for all of you to share your stories, and 2 different stories with the virus, with the shot, and also nutritional related to mental health. And I'm going to put it all together in a moment. But first, I want to ask you, because I told a lot of people that I was going to interview you, and someone asked, do you believe in the shedding after someone got the thing in their arm? And if so, do you recommend prophylacting against it? And does it affect other people who you're near? Let's say you just got it in the last week or 2. Is there any truth to that or observance?
Yes. I've seen a number of articles regarding shedding recently that definitively shows that this happens, in terms of how to avoid it from happening. We have, basically our immune system, the way that it works with pathogens is pathogens present themselves in our mouth nasal area, and our eyes too. So that it takes several days for incubation from those areas for anything to move to the rest of our body, whether it's a virus or bacteria or protozoa, yeast, any pathogen. Most pathogens enter through mouth, nose, eyes. So if you have a product like we do that kills all pathogens on contact, then if you spray it in your mouth, you spray it in your nose, and you spray it or drip it in your eyes, at the end of the day, then anything that came to you and entered into your body to create a pathogen situation, would be killed. So that if you just spray these products, drip these products, present these products to your mouth, nose, eyes, then you don't get sick. Most people, report that they stay well, even in the presence of pathogens. The other thing is that, some people, have developed ear infections. And, there's a reason why, this particular version of the virus, creates those situations. So if you just take an ear swab and put the electrocide or the A1 mineral or the product, that kills the pathogens on an ear swab, and then put that ear swab gently into your ears, then that fluid will actually kill the pathogens in your ears. And if you had an ear infection, it can go away. So the answer is you can protect yourself every day by using these as prophylactic devices. If something comes to you, we have another product that you just take these capsules. Most people get a little indication of that they're getting sick because they feel a little funny. They feel like there's throat scratches, or their ears itch, or their nose runs a little bit, or any of these little signs. If you just take 1 ounce of this prophylactic, then those things go away. 1 ounce of the prophylactic and switch it around your mouth and gargle it. Then most of the areas that would carry those pathogens, the pathogens have now been disabled or killed, and you don't get sick.
Okay. Okay. So before I get into my family story and then ask you some questions about nutrition, because you mentioned iron, and I realized that was my issue with my anxiety, I wanted to ask you, you mentioned LAMBDA. I've hardly heard of LAMBDA. I've heard of BA5, OMA, whatever. I don't like to finish my sentences because you never know what they can do to this video. But can you explain to me about LAMBDA, when it was around, and is it just BA5 now, and the difference of how it reacts in the body?
Well, LAMBDA was around a little bit, coming up only about a year ago. It was last fall, and LAMBDA was a variant where it basically knocked you down. You basically couldn't move, literally. You couldn't sleep, and you couldn't breathe, and you had a high temperature, and that basically was very debilitating. The BA5 is a combination, of LAMBDA and alpha. So alpha that's the first version, had a very significant cytokine storm associated with it and elevated fever. So you add that to the, structurally, you can see the structure of the virus is a combination of LAMBDA and LAMBDA and alpha.
Okay, so I'm going to share my family story and then ask you some questions. Well, actually, I want to ask you a question before that. So people who really do not want to get this because they've had medical issues, like my friend that you're helping, I shared the story in part 2, my friend Krista. She got 2 of these. She has 3 children. She's a single mom, and she did it because she works in elder care. She was a big manager in elder care, and she hasn't been able to work for a year because she got severe side effects, and she's still not doing well. So thank you so much for helping her. But so my question is, right now, if a baby is forced into it, a college student, an adult, an elderly person, and their place is saying you need to get 1, 2, 3, or 4 or 5, any of them, you need to get the first one, you need to get the 5th one. Can they take some of your products and then they'll be okay?
So far as we've seen, the answer is yes. There's always things that we don't know, but so far, it's been very effective for everybody who's used the product that, as a dietary supplement. It's been very effective to other symptomatic issues.
Okay, so I'll share with you, Professor. I didn't share my story yet, and it's been on my show a little bit. So basically, June of 2020, my parents got the viral pathogen from my family. 2 of us, including me, never got it at that time. I've gotten it twice since, but we visited because my father asked us to visit. We didn't want to visit, but one of us just drove to their house and stayed there for a day, day and a half. So both my parents got it. Strangely, I don't know if this is related, but my parents and I are O positive, and my parents had a very mild cold. However, so my mom did fine, everyone did fine, but my father at the time, 78, obese, sedentary, slow growing prostate cancer, everything a sedentary obese person would have, he had. So God forbid he was at risk of death, and he was at the hospital because we knew to use the pulse oximeter that we got at the drugstore. His oxygen went to 88. We knew he was in cytokine storm because we had been studying this every single day to make sure our family would do okay. The ambulance would only take him to our local hospital, who I will not name because I've had 3 more friends lose their life there. My father was going to be, God forbid, one of them. The next day I said, Mom, let's pull him out. I don't know how this hospital treats this thing. And brought him to Tarzana to see Dr. Thomas Yadigar because I had two friends who knew him. My father was there 5 days. He got treatment. Now, what he got was dexamethasone and Actemra. Actemra is tocilizumab, and that is for rheumatoid arthritis.
Oh,
Okay.
oh, that's right. That's right. I got you.
It could be, who knows if that's two, but as far as I knew, it's for cytokine storm for the IL-6 inhibiting IL-6. And my father's life was saved. Some may say coincidence, but this doctor said, I know the path of this disease. Your father was dying there at that hospital. I pulled him out. We signed an AMA against medical advice. So my dad is here today. No side effects whatsoever. He is who he was, though he's still sedentary and he is who he is, but he's fine. So I started before then and after I started studying more and more because that doctor, and I have a friend, he didn't give me permission to say his name. So he's in Muncie, New York, and he's now a COVID lung specialist. And he got all 4 shots. So I asked both doctors, hey, what's going on? Who's at risk? And they said alcoholics, people in current cancer treatment, like currently undergoing cancer treatment, and anyone inflamed who is currently inflamed. So it would be an obese person, they said, chubby, just getting towards obese, and especially obese with diabetes. And there's more stories to tell, but I can't get into it right now. So it helped calm my anxiety. Some people calm their anxiety by getting the shot. For me, I just use knowledge every day, listening to professors like you, doctors. I was just searching all over the place instead of watching the news. I said, I got to educate myself on cytokine storm. And so I was able to get enough information to pull my father out of that hospital and get him to a life-saving hospital and to a doctor who knew what he was doing. That's why I want to share your information. But the other side of it is right before the virus and during, I had pretty severe anxiety, probably called depression. I didn't want to wake up in the morning. I was just waking up for my 4 children. I would never do anything to myself, but I thought, there's no joy in life. What's the purpose of life? What I learned is I was vegan at some point in my life and then vegetarian. I believe that cholesterol was bad for you. You should probably be vegan. And I started to realize that lifestyle wasn't good for me. I was low in iron. I was having trouble breathing from anxiety, and just life was overwhelming for me. And I know we all have struggles. I could tell you mine. They were horrible things going on in my life, people coming after me, financial, just horrible things that most people probably would not want to be here. But once I started to listen to people who eat different, I think it's related to iron, because I would have trouble driving. A couple of times I had to call my parents. I'm like, you need to pick me up. I can't, I don't want to crash my car with the kids in the car. Something's wrong with me. And I would also give blood to the Red Cross. And most of the time, probably 60%, they would reject me because your iron has to be 13. And I was 10, 11, I was too low. So I would notice, okay, I need to start eating more meat. I started listening to physicians. One is Dr. Terry Walls, WAHLS. She had multiple sclerosis. Got rid of it. She was vegan. She has to eat liver once a week, grass-fed beef, and a few plants. I'm not sure which plants. I can't remember, maybe yams and some other things. Then I just interviewed Dr. Dannenberg. If you look below, you can see Dr. Dannenberg. He had incurable bone marrow cancer, and he was in hospice. He was get 3 to 6 months to live. He was going. He was not going to be in this world anymore. His wife helped him, and he also believes in the mostly carnivore and fat. That's what he does in organ meat. The theory is that the more fruits and vegetables we have, legumes, lentils, rice, breads, alcohol even, we are causing inflammation because it's sugar in the body. The body doesn't know that you're increasing your insulin and glucose. So that's my long story short. I want to ask you about that. What do you think of a vegan or plant-based vegetarian diet versus carnivore diet? How do you relate that to the virus and cytokine storm and IL-6?
Well, I mean, what we have is we have what's called the no white diet. And the no white diet combines the best of both worlds. First of all, it's no milk, no cheese. It's no pasta, no rice, no grains. There's some grains that are okay, but in general, not. No sugar, and you can have lean meats. You can have fish, and it's very, very. It basically drops your blood glucose very quickly. We have a special tea that we make that drops your blood glucose in the 80s. And the blood glucose is very much responsible for a lot of your health conditions. The no white diet also requires you to drink 6 to 8 glasses of water. It It requires you to do 20 minutes of vigorous exercise every day. And it's been very successful. And you know, so that's what we recommend to everybody. You know, we also have, you know, dietary supplements that basically cover all your needs from vitamins, minerals, and herbal products. That's been very helpful. And then we have amino acids, the essential amino acids, which, you know, help to help your body in terms of all forms of protein synthesis. So, you know, these things all combined with the electrocide, you know, with the treated water, with the balanced mineral capsule or the electrocide capsule, people get better, and they, you know, they get out of the possibility of a cytokine storm. If you're taking all these products, there's no way that you can have a cytokine storm. There's no way that your blood work is going to, you know, be infected. There's no way. It's all these things basically undo all the damages that were done, you know, happened to you, you know, recently.
Okay, beautiful. I think you just answered my next question, but we have about 4 minutes left of part 3, because like I said, I want to keep every segment short so that you're not on your phone for three to 4 hours listening to the professor, so you can do it in piecemeal. So I wanted to ask you, I'll give you an example. My son was heading off to Israel last October, and he got a shot. I don't remember which one it was. Maybe it was meningitis. And I noticed he started behaving strangely. Could have been coincidence. He's a teenager, but he started having this angst, this attitude. It was so strange. It was strange. It was almost like a rabid dog. And I thought, I wonder if it's related to that. And we didn't do anything about it. He goes off to Israel. He came back and it seems to have faded. But I just wondered, because my kids have gotten every shot. You know, when they were younger, I believed in that. I worked for Merck Pharmaceuticals, like we talked about. I helped bring Zocor to the world, and I believed in the cholesterol, which is now supposedly a myth. Cholesterol comes to heal. So I want to ask you, did you notice who is at risk? Like I said, Dr. Yadigar, who saved my father's life, and then my friend.
Well, the answer is absolutely yes.
Okay.
I mean, the other thing we found early on, because we've seen so many thousands of people, is if you had TYPO blood, you were having less of a severe reaction. And the reason why is TYPO blood have a different type of immunity than people who are not TYPO blood. And the other thing that we did is we invented another product, which is the health, which, you know, we sell as the capsule, which basically ties into supplying the minerals for TYPO blood people. Because what's happened eventually, the TYPO blood people have been getting sick too. And because the viral load is higher and there's no way for them to avoid it. However, when we use our mineral, you know, excess mineral based capsule, the people with type O blood get better almost instantaneously. But because they've already, you know, they already have a developed level of immune resistance. Type O blood have a much higher level than everybody else. So when they get sick, they are more at risk than the people who, you know, who don't, because basically the viral load has to go over that TYPO blood level. So we, you know, we have a shotgun that, you know, product that kind of kills that right off the bat.
Okay. I think my final question, because we have exactly 2 minutes left. My final question is, I was able to come up with my own way of dealing with anxiety with this scary viral pathogen. And that was, I looked at my father, I knew the doctor to go to, I knew he had products. So I said, okay, we're going to be good. And anyone I refer to him is going to be fine. And I saw that everyone was doing fine. The media was scaring us. And I kept saying, well, everybody's doing fine except for the inflamed people. However, sometimes there would be someone who would say, well, oh gosh, we only have a minute and a half left. I think we should go into part 4, but we can do it later, because I think you have a drive. But I want to ask, if you notice, but we can't answer right now, if you noticed who is at risk, because I noticed something about bodybuilders, runners, people who over exercise. I think they were causing cytokine storm or IL-6, but let's get into that in a minute. So let me just stop, and I'm going to put everything in the description that you need to find the professor to help yourself from if you've gotten this, or if you've gotten in the past, or your children have. And it's just fascinating, his journey, his life journey, and how it led him to help so many people. So I want to thank you. We have less than a minute. Anything else you want to sign off before we go into part 4?
Well, I mean, if people have problems, they should contact us. We have dietary supplements that can help them. We've learned a lot. And, our whole mission is to get people well. And we are definitely not well. And there's a lot of reasons why we're not well. We have some amazing physicians on our team. And we encourage people to contact us through the www.homeofhealth.wildapricot.org, and we'll be happy to help. I mean, there's no fee for us to listen to what you have to say. We're also providing educational service to people this way. We're